Hey there, gamers! It's the Ramblin' Manager here with another ditty for you. Now, I've been playing more and more of Dead by Daylight to get through the Malevolence tome because I'm a fan of Ghostface. Ever since that popped up, I was like, oh, okay, now it kind of redeemed itself. Because I've been playing more Killer, and as much as I hate to admit it, it feels so good murdering them survivors. But then it got me thinking, if my co-host can talk about, implementing a new killer, I like to think I can. Now, given this is more of a impromptu, off the wall. I'm not going in depth into anything because it's all just being thrown out there. But yesterday, as I was making some food, I thought about a particular character I would love to see in Dead by Daylight. The vampire, or Nosferatu, Dracula, whatever. Some sort of vampire esque killer. Because me, I love vampires. I find them really fascinating. I'm basically, what is it, Team Edward minus the sparkling diamond skin, because no fucking thank you. I'm not that pretentious. But, I was just thinking to myself, a vampire killer could be pretty fucking interesting. It has a cool vibe to it, some elegance, but some also like a deadly demeanor. And the first thing that came to my mind is his special ability. The perks I would have to think about a little bit more, but in terms of like what his special ability could be, I was thinking of something along the lines of maybe a combo between the Oni's blood pickup skill, and Michael Myers' ability. And how do I describe it? It's kind of similar to Bloodlust, but it's not Bloodlust. Maybe like Blood Craving or The Thirst. That's what it could be, The Thirst. And what it is that at the early stages, or at the start of the game, you have like no disadvantages. You're just a normal plain killer, normal terror radius of 32 meters, and normal movement speed. And what happens is you have to go out there and actually wound a survivor to cause them to start dropping blood. Now, I don't think we should use the same assets as the Oni, because I think that the floating balls of blood, that that's a little bit stupid. In terms of like blood from survivors, maybe how it could work is shit. What the fuck's wrong with my throat? It'll just be normal blood. It'll be the normal blood pools, but maybe it'll be a little bit more illuminated, like a different color, similar to that one blood perk from Hunter, not the Hunter, the Trapper, I think. But the gold hue, that doesn't really work out well. Like, make it maybe like a pulsating red blood. Make it more noticeable from your ability. So what you gotta do? You gotta go out there. You gotta hurt a survivor. You actually gotta hunt. You can't be Myers where you can like play around and stalk them and all that shit. No, you have to wound a survivor. You gotta make first blood. And what happens is when you do hit that, boom, they start dropping blood because they're wounded. And what you gotta do is you gotta activate your ability called the Thirst or Blood Hunt, whatever. And there can be two different forms. Maybe whenever you're just walking around and you're picking up blood, maybe you get like a smaller amount. So you could still have like the ability to wound survivors, but it only increases by half the amount. But if you decide to put your weapon away and go in the bloodthirst mode or something, you'll get more blood because you're collecting more of it. You're tasting more of it, I guess. And what will eventually happen is there'll be different fucking tiers. Whenever you hit stage 1, you'll get a minor movement speed increase, like a couple percent. Maybe the cooldown's a little bit slow on your weapon, and you just fucking are a little bit faster because now that blood's feeling your power. But you have to keep hitting survivors. You gotta keep collecting blood to go up to higher tiers. Or you gotta keep stalking that one individual. And then maybe eventually, once you get up to tier 3, okay, boom, maybe you'll get an exposed effect where like the next person you down will just instantly go down. That's it. But you gotta work through it through the tiers. There could be like 2 or 3 tiers. Probably 3, because 3 is the magic number. But here's where the balancing act comes in. Whenever your bloodlust or the thirst is over and you manage to down that person, it resets back to 0 where it starts draining. If it goes back to stage 0 where your ability bar is empty, because you were craving that blood so much, it left you in a weakened state. So maybe you'll now have a penalty of like a 5% movement speed decrease. It'll take you longer to recover from like maybe missed attacks or actions because you're like in a weakened state. You're very drained. So it'll encourage you to actually go and get hits on survivors and try and collect blood in that way because it'll actually empower you. To me, it's not as broken as, the Oni, where if you collect enough blood, boom, you can just sprint across the map and just down a survivor in one hit. But it's also not as campy in nature of Myers, where if you get up high enough, you can expose them. And I guess in like a regard, like again, it's a combo of Myers and the Oni with like hints of increase of movement speed and attack speed from the likes of Legion. Because the vampire is kind of like a nimble character. He stalks his prey, acquires blood to satiate their thirst. It'll be a combination of various killers, kind of like how Wesker is in regards with his tendrils and how he has two charges, it gives him like a quick burst, and he can infect people similar to Nemesis. Now, in terms of like the character and their backstory, I had like the idea in my head, or like some sort of like kid or like young person who was, just trying to mind his own business. He was a quiet kid, and all of a sudden, boom, he was left for dead, or something like really bad happened. A vampire just came along and bit him to give him a second chance at life. But instead of like the cliche, like vampire stories, like learning from like the others and all that crap, maybe something happened to that vampire master, and now you're just left alone, and you don't know how to control your thirst, so you just become like a mindless killing machine, just killing people, draining their blood and all that stuff, and the fog just takes fucking notice of you. The entity takes notice, and ooh, I'm gonna snatch you up. You can have all the blood you want in my realm. And also, in terms of like a Mori kill, even though it'd probably be a little bit, I mean, a Mori kill, obviously, it's kind of predictable what it would be. Like, you maybe like cut the survivor a couple times. If you want to be a little bit erotic, depending on like where you cut them, maybe you like taste their blood, like lick it a little bit, and your eyes just like glow red because you're like, the bloodlust, it's overpowering me. And you just throw the survivor to the ground. You just fucking munch on their neck until they're just lifeless and die. Kind of similar like, Ghostface or maybe Legion, where they just push you to the ground and just fucking destroy you. Something similar to that, but, with fangs in the process. Hell, even in terms of, like, outfits, there's gonna be, like, a bunch of, like, vampire-inspired outfits. I know fucking the Wraith has, like, a particular Dracula-type costume. Give something like that to this vampire killer. And in terms of like a survivor, if you want to do like a whole chapter around that, I mean, Keanu Reeves, I don't fucking know, just some random survivor, it'd be like some sort of vampire hunter. There you go, like the perfect vampire chapter, like some sort of blood sucking freak and some sort of wannabe Van Helsing. Who knows? But in terms of the perks, that's where it's like a little bit tricky because I mean, I'm not as good in terms of balancing the games around the perks. Like the only thing I could think of is like balancing around like the blood aspect of the chase, because it's like you're obviously going to wound a survivor and they're always going to drop blood, but there's already a perk that highlights the blood with a gold hue, but to me I just feel it's like a little bit underpowered. So the only thing I could think of is like maybe if you're walking in their blood spots, you'll get like a small minor movement speed increase. Nothing crazy, but me thinking it aloud, it would be too busted because then you could stack that, like following their blood trail from when they're wounded with bloodlust, and you'll just get like an insane movement speed increase. It'd be a little bit unfair, but I don't know. Like I said, this was impromptu. I just wanted to share my thoughts there because, I mean, I really love vampires in general. It'd be nice just to have, like, a vampire killer in fucking Dead by Daylight. That's something I'd probably buy day one. Behavioral. take note. Add in a vampire. Just don't make them like too like Nosferatu-ish. Like make it like maybe let them have a little bit of pale skin. You know, like modern vampire. You know, not Twilight. Just pale, like more like being human vampire, Aiden vampire. You know, just pale. Maybe give them like some red glow on their eyes. Give them the fangs. You know, something like that. Don't go Nosferatu. Don't go like otherworldly, like vampire masquerade, like the underdwelling vampires. Don't do that. But yeah, I just want to share my thoughts a little bit with it. Maybe I'll talk about it with my co-host. Maybe it'll spur him to think of a couple things. But usual YouTube chant, you know, let me know what you think. Like, what other killers would you want in Dead by Daylight? Do you think a vampire could be like an interesting build? You know, something similar to building up a meter like Myers, but it involves actually having to inflict damage on the survivor. And, you know, the ability to pick up blood like the Oni, and then getting, like, small passive boosts. Similar to, you know, Legion. Even though, like, Legion was more of, like, you know, like a pinball effect. Go from one survivor and the other, boom! You knock down that fucker. But in this case, it's, like, minor boosts to, like, maybe speed. Because you're being filled with that blood, so it's energizing you in a way. Fuck, I could see that shit being a little bit broken in terms of, like, vaulting and shit. But, anyway, that's all. The Ramblin' Manager's clocking out. Y'all have a safe Friday. Bye.